Welcome back to another episode of the My Light Away podcast. Today we are going to be talking about something so near and dear to my heart and really is like the essence of how I try and live every day as a mum, as an entrepreneur, as a researcher. Just help me live my life in a way that, on a whole, feels really good. And I'm talking about presence and the power of it and the power of using it in our lives. And today I'm going to be talking about the power of presence in pregnancy and why I just think that is like the most like beautiful, magical time to deepen into presence even more. And we'll get into kind of like the spiritual meaning, but also the like practical effects that this can have on your motherhood experience and your postpartum journey and your ability to just navigate it with more ease. And this episode today is actually inspired by a little father-daughter date that I went on last weekend with my own dad. And we have both read the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. If you haven't read that book, I would highly, highly recommend it. It's one of those books that I'm like, yeah, that book definitely impacted in a positive way my life and just gave me like a framework and like such a deep meaning behind why it is so valuable to be present and like what it truly means and looks like to be present. So we've both read that book. And so for a present, I think it was his birthday present. Last, yeah, because last fall I saw an ad pop up and it was actually very soon after my dad had recommended I reread that book, reread it because I was like feeling stressed about something. I was venting to him and just sharing. I'm like, oh, like this is what I'm stressed about. And then he was like, you should, in his Welsh accent, you should reread The Power of Now. And I was like, oh yeah, probably is a good idea. But instead of rereading that, I felt inspired to instead start listening to one of Eckhart Tolle's audiobooks, one of his other books, which is called New Earth. And if you have read his books, you will know what I mean by this. If you haven't, this is how I'd recommend you take them in. They are not like a binge, easy listening book. They are like spiritual, deep concepts that like I can just read in like chunks at a time and then I'll like need a break from it to like integrate it, but also I need to be like in a certain mindset and like certain frame to like be like, okay, like I'm ready for this today. But yeah, I saw I saw soon after my dad recommended I reread his book. I saw that he was coming to Ottawa, which is a couple of hours away from me. And so I got my dad tickets for his birthday. And so we went to his show on the weekend, which was so cool. My dad and I haven't done something like that together before. And yeah, it was just a really cool experience. And, you know, Eckhart Tolle, if you haven't heard him speak, I would recommend YouTubing him. Like, he is such a unique and engaging speaker. And like, you can feel, especially if you're like into energy type of work like me. But I think anyone can just feel this from him, is he is literally so present when he speaks. Like you can feel like he has like sometimes like a slower cadence. He will take a pause and you can tell he's not uncomfortable in the pause. You can tell he's just in it and trusts the pause and trusts things to land. Um, and just so one of my favorite takeaways from seeing him speak was beyond just the concepts that he teaches, which are so fascinating. And we'll tie this like back to like motherhood later in this episode, this whole spiritual concept around presence. He is just talking, he's talking about a new earth in the sense that there is a huge opportunity in human consciousness to awaken, to do life on purpose, to do it consciously, to live from a place of presence instead of a place of fear. And I know we talk a lot about mental health on this podcast, and that's a lot of my background is around mental health and anxiety and all of that. And he really just helps teach how to get out of your head and more into your body, which, as you know, I'm so about that. And just becoming aware of like the patterns that don't serve us or the ways of life or the paradigms that we live within or around that aren't maybe for our greatest good. And yeah, he just talks about now being like such an opportune time, and so many people on the planet are going to raise like their frequency, live more consciously, and being present and feeling still in the present and connected to God, to the divine. That is going to be more and more and more the way of life if we seize this opportunity. So, yeah, he talked a lot about spiritual concepts and just how to be present in a world where it's not always easy to be present. But beyond that, he had so many good concepts to share. But beyond that, my favorite part was just experiencing him being present and like being able to feel that he just stayed present for like 2+ hours. Like, it's really interesting, even just me as in my role, like as a podcast host and as someone over the last 5 years who's become like more and more visible online, or just putting myself out there online more and taking videos and recording myself. Through that whole journey, that's been a really good way for me to learn and grow as a person. And I can often tell like when I get more in my head or when I start to like be like, oh, like doubt what I think or overthink what I think and lose the aspect of presence just by the act of like pressing record sometimes and knowing I'm being like listened to. It's like when you leave a voicemail and you hear yourself like back and you're like, oh my gosh, like that didn't sound like me. Or, if you're in an interaction with someone and you're like, oh, like I felt a bit awkward there. It's kind of like that. So over the last 5 years, I've been really like working on, because I'm like, I know this also was a skill, and it was like outside of my comfort zone to start. But over the years, and as I've deepened into this, it's gotten just like more and more easy and more natural for me to just feel like me on camera. And like, I can tell often, yeah, when I leave not being present and get in my head and when I return to it. And I yeah, been an interesting practice even in that way. But I am here today because I want to talk to you about presence in motherhood, which is a lot of what I do and a lot of what I teach. And it is just such a valuable practice to have. And I know for me, and probably for many, 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 many of you, maybe even all of you, if you're listening to this, probably all of you, it's probably you, that presence as a mum is or is going to be your number one value, or at least in like the top couple. Why? Because becoming a mum, and you might have found this if you're pregnant already, becoming a mum, you become so aware of time in a different way, of how fast it can sometimes go, of how quickly things change. You have this sense of awareness that this is a season and this is a chapter, and this is the only time I'm going to be experiencing this chapter. This is the only time I'm going to be experiencing this second trimester. This is the only time I'm going to be experiencing this third trimester. This is the only time I'm going to be experiencing this newborn on the first day. this is the only time I'm going to be experiencing my baby when they're like less than a month old. And then you go through like all those, those picture milestones and um, of like 1 month today, 2 months today, 3 months today. There are so many reminders all around us, but of the evolution of it all, how much things change. And it's just this invitation to root back into presence and to be here as much as you can right now in this moment. And I'm so passionate about talking about this and sharing about it in light of pregnancy, especially because A, it helps you just soak in this pregnancy and of course like be excited for your baby and be excited for when they're here, but not necessarily like wishing away time until they get here. That's how I was. I remember feeling like so aware of like, oh my gosh, I'm like so excited for this baby, but also I'm so happy I have this time to like get ready and like wait for their arrival, but not wait. I'm so excited I get to be in this chapter and like learn all these things about like my baby and how they're growing inside of me and and get my home ready and just start to adjust to this identity change that I'm going through as I'm becoming a mom. Like there are just so many incredible things about pregnancy, and I'm one of those people that I loved pregnancy, especially after first trimester, all the feels of like hope and excitement and anxiety and some fear and all of that. As the pregnancy went on, my pregnancy with Max, for example, and but also Reese, I just freaking loved it. I felt so powerful in my body. I loved experiencing and just being in my changing pregnant body. I loved the connection that I was making and the bond, like the deep, deep bond I already felt with my babies. I love just like being in the car and like chatting with them, like having a little convo, or being in a meeting at work and then like feeling them move and then just put my hand on my step and could be like, oh my God, oh yeah, you're in there. I loved that. I loved it. It just felt like I had a little secret bestie like living inside of me. It was just, yeah, I just like felt this very, I just felt them and I loved just being with them all of the time. Like it was just the best invitation. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, that's when I really started to practice just being present and just come back to the present moment so many times in a day and try and like settle into it and extend it, like expand the present moment as much as I possibly could. One of my favorite ways I would do that is I remember just being at my desk at work and I would often notice the time at 11:11 when I was pregnant, like way more often than usual. And I would just like stop and I would take that as my sign and my invitation to just like sometimes I would close my eyes and just go inward. Sometimes I would just like kind of look outside at the trees, but I would always, when I would notice this, just stop and like hold my belly and just like take deep breaths and just settle into the moment and just take a whole minute, sometimes 2 minutes, just to feel so grateful for like where I was and like connect with my baby. And I would just drop everything I was doing. I'm like, I can drop this for a minute and just extend it. And those are like the best minutes of the day, you know? But yeah, being pregnant was just the best invitation to soak that in because things change and I wanted to be there for all of it, you know? That's what I find a lot of my clients have said too. They're like, I just want to soak in this pregnancy and like they really value being present. And so I'm sure you do as well, especially if you clicked on this episode. And one of the beautiful gifts you will give yourself by practicing this in pregnancy, which I highly recommend, is if that just becomes a habit for you, just a way of being, you can just become second nature. You start to create like new neural pathways, like new responses to noticing something about your baby or noticing them move or whatever, and it brings you back to the present. And so what you'll do more and more, you'll become more and more present, and then you'll feel like you're there for more and more moments. And then that'll more naturally carry into postpartum. That'll carry through the newborn stage. And if you keep that up, you will look back and you'll just know you were here for it, which I just think is such a beautiful gift to give ourselves and also our babies. I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but when I dropped off my youngest at kindergarten for the very first time, back in September, I felt like a mix of things walking away from that school and like walking back home, being like, whoa, that's a big milestone. But one of the things I vividly remember, like while walking on the path, is saying to my husband, just being like, I am so freaking glad that I have been present for this, that I really like soaked this in, like every milestone. I never wished over any chapter. I always wanted to soak in and worked to soak in every single chapter. And being present and practicing that and coming back to that every single day, no matter what, even on the most anxious days, I always found moments to be present. I'm so grateful that I've got to experience motherhood in that way. And I want that for all of us, you know? And I want to talk about anxiety for a minute because, or depression, because I know that's a fear for many who are pregnant is what if I have postpartum anxiety? What if I have postpartum depression? And why do women fear that? Well, A, obviously that's not a good feeling state to be in. Like, probably you really value your health and well-being too. And you know it's better for you, it's better for your baby if you're healthy. But I think the one of the deeper meanings underneath that as well is that we know if we're more anxious or if we're more depressed, it can take us out of the present more easily. It's less easy to be able to like enjoy and soak in and feel so good and make the most of this time if you're not feeling like yourself or if you're anxious or depressed. But what I want to share here is something that I've learned, maybe the hard way, but I think it gave me a new wisdom in this area that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Is I went through a time, 18 months postpartum with my second baby. I wouldn't say I had postpartum depression or anxiety. I had really great postpartum. Um, actually, no, sorry, it was after my first. Between my babies, doesn't really matter the timing. Between my babies, there was a point where I felt anxious and I started to have panic attacks out of the blue, like a few of them, and I was like, what is going on? I learned then that I could be present even in the face of the most heightened anxiety I've experienced before. I've been able to be present even in the times that were really challenging, even in the times looking back with my first that we had all these breastfeeding challenges to work through. And I was really stressed and I was more on alert for a little while around my mental health. That presence practice helped me stay more rooted and grounded throughout all of that. And I wanted to share that with you today because it's a conversation I don't see happening. But if there's another thing about motherhood, other than your awareness of time, is we need to expand our capacity and we get to expand our capacity to hold a lot. You've probably felt this in pregnancy. Like I was just saying earlier in the episode about the first trimester. You, it's common to experience like a whole mix of different feelings and stuff at once, right? It's like you're holding that balance between excitement of like, oh my God, I'm pregnant, but also maybe some fear or nerves around like, but like I'm only like this far along, so I don't want to get my hopes up too high. And it's just like we as mums have capacity and expand our capacity to hold like a lot of feelings at once, a lot of other people, including ourselves at once, like literally. It's not just us responsible for us anymore. And so we get to evolve like and grow as people in that way. But one of the topics that I don't see talked about around presence and around mental health, because I see a lot more about like it takes you out of it. But even within those states, we can still be present. We can still hold that intention. We can still slow down, find stillness, even on the most challenging moments, even on the hardest days, and create space to be present. And I noticed something so powerful by doing that is even on my hardest days, I never had a fully bad day. I've never had one. I've never felt like this day was a write-off. I've always felt, and it's because of this practice and the connection to yourself that you get through it, connection to God if you have faith, connection to, yeah, like the divine, like love, pure love energy. That connection and that space for stillness means that you're probably going to have an amazing moment even on the worst day. And I know that was the case for me. So many days I remember when my anxiety was heightened back then, presence remained my number one value, and I would tap into that every day. So I'd be with my son, and even if like earlier in the day I'd been in my head or I was like more exhausted or whatever, more anxious, not feeling like myself, I always knew I could just slow down, make space, tune in to the present moment. And just by settling into the present moment, literally, like relax your breathing, bring your attention just to now. When you bring yourself to your breathing too and relax your body, that also helps you bring yourself out of your head, like settle your nervous system into right now to feel safe in the right now. That's a great way to start regulating in to the moment. And then just by making space, just observe what's going on around you in that moment. That often, especially if you have a very cute little human who you absolutely love nearby or in your arms or snuggled in the bed beside you or playing in front of you with toys on the living room floor, whatever, you're gonna, you're probably gonna feel joy. You're probably gonna feel love. I remember like so many times on those days, just like happy tears coming to my eyes and that overwhelming love feeling. And how powerful to even on the most challenging days or the most challenging chapter or phase or whatever moment to be able to create joy, to create love, to create an appreciation for and almost like ruthless, like not like ruthless is the word coming to it, mind. Ruthless will and desire to soak in everything, to be here for it, to be present for it. And I think it's been one of my secrets looking back to never wishing away the hard times, never wishing away the times to like, I wish it was 3 months from now so my baby would finally sleep through the night. I just didn't do that. Like to give you an example of that, I'm like, oh yeah, like realistically, would I love a full night's sleep? Sure. Do I have also an intention and a mindset to have full acceptance for the phase we're in and to make the phase we're in as good as possible for all of us? Yeah. Yeah. Do I want to wish time away? Absolutely not. No intention of ever wishing time away. So if that speaks to you, I hope this helps you, and I hope you got and benefited from some of the nuances around, hey, even if like anxiety, even if you feel anxious some days, even if you experience breastfeeding challenges, even if whatever thing that might be top of mind for you about maybe something that you're worried about, something you're dealing with now, even if you can still be present for it. And by opening yourself up to presence in the current moment, you are literally expanding your capacity for joy. Because again, what I've noticed is that the more am present, or when I am present, I feel like just so happy about where I am. But I also feel like, and I also feel like that's a space where like miracles are possible, where space, like where connection is possible, connection with your baby, connection with your like real self, not the anxious mind, like your true self, connection with God. Like there is so much space in the present moment and so much possibility born in the present moment. And something Eckhart Tolle was saying, which I like always find funny to kind of wrap my head around, is like you only have the present moment. Like you only have right now, and that is all you will ever have. You can never live in the future. You can imagine the future, but even when the future comes, it will be the now. So let's expand into the now and make it as good as possible, right? So yeah, I wanted to share that with you because it's such a simple concept, but it's not always easy to do in today's world with so many distractions, so many even like habits. And, like I think of myself sometimes like reaching for my phone, and then I've put boundaries on my phone. Like I have apps that will block. I have an app that will block other apps for like hours of the day, and I love that because sometimes other systems can help me be more present, but also in terms of my own mind and like how I live. I'm always like challenging myself in a good way, like I love it, to be more present, to find more stillness, more safety, more peace, more love, more joy, more creativity, more fun in the moment. And yeah, presence is just my favorite practice for that. A presence practice, the one that I shared about earlier, where we can do this together now. I open my lighter motherhood with that. That is my pregnancy postpartum program where I share all my favorite spiritual mindset, nervous system, tools and practices and perspectives to help support mums have more present, peaceful pregnancies and postpartums and help make that transition smoother. And I start it off with a presence practice very intentionally. It's actually in the part of the program that helps you protect and take a really proactive approach to your mental health and supporting your emotional well-being through postpartum, which, as you know, is such a valuable thing to nurture and take care of alongside your baby through this transition. But I start it with the presence practice for the very reason that I shared about earlier. A, you get to practice it and make it a habit. So you just live like a present mum from now. It's just normal, it's your normal. And two, it is a really valuable tool, and I found this myself personally to be a really valuable tool to lessen the noise, the impact, and the power of anxiety. Because what presence does is it separates you from the mental chatter, from the noise, from the thoughts, and it gives you space to get your power back. So you're not just caught up in the thought spirals and the cycles and in your head. It brings you like back into your body, back into your spirit. Not that you live it, but back into your like now, back into your power. And I just think that is a powerful start to start the program off on. So I wanted to lead you through that today. And I've already described it, but why don't we just take a moment? Take a moment. Let's do it together. Okay. So you're going to start by just taking a deep breath in. And on the exhale, just relax your whole body. Okay, we're going to do that again. Deep breath in. And then on the exhale, just relax your whole body. And then just notice something special about what's going on around you. Could be your belly if you're pregnant. If you're listening postpartum, could be your baby. And just notice a tiny detail. And just be with it. Like be here with the now. And then I'll give you a little add-on that I sometimes like to do if you're feeling relaxed. Just like pick a feeling that you want to tap into right now. Maybe it's gratitude, like I'm so grateful for where I am right now. I'm so grateful for what I'm currently experiencing in this exact moment. Like it is a miracle. It is a miracle. Just let yourself settle into that feeling. Be present with that feeling. And you can stay here and take some deep breaths. Just noticing, feeling, being here. And then when you're ready, you can go back to the room, back to moving around, back to just listening to this podcast episode. But that is one of my favorite practices. And I wanted to share it with you because if you can make that a habit, you you are so powerful and you'll always remember and be able to tap back into the power of now, literally, the power of now. Because how powerful to do that in the middle of the night when your baby's awake for the fifth time and maybe your body and your mind are feeling shaky and anxious or whatever. How beautiful. You'd be sitting there anyway with your baby, maybe feeding them, maybe changing their diaper, maybe changing their outfit again, different PJs. How powerful to, instead of living that moment feeling stressed, feeling anxious, or feeling like you'd rather be somewhere else getting 8 hours of sleep that night. How powerful to wish to be in that moment and to ease into it and to show yourself it's safe and powerful and beautiful and perfect to be there. I think I know that this is one of the most valuable things we can model and ways we can be for our babies. Because they can sense that, wow, I am born into this beautiful world with my beautiful mum who just loves me and it's safe to be here. I connect with her here. I feel her love here. Feel her joy here. I feel her peace here. I feel stillness here. Like, what a beautiful, powerful start to life. And thinking and knowing and feeling that that is normal. And to witness you shift into it because I have in my notes here and I wanted to remember to say it. It's presence and it's practice. It is practice over perfection. It is practice over perfection. And we have to give ourselves so much grace and compassion and patience because this isn't really how the world works, right? It's not really how society is set up. It's not what was modeled to our grandparents or our great grandparents or our mothers and all of that to be present all the time. Like our brains, I don't even think are wired for that at this point in human existence. So it's not possible to be present all of the time, 24/7, 24, yeah, 24/7 a day. Oh my God, am I butchering that? You know what I mean. It's just not, it's not a thing yet. It'd be cool if it was. I feel like that's heaven, you know? But we have to give ourselves grace and patience and be like, oh yeah, because and just slowly, slowly shift the trajectory, just practice it and make it more and more our normal. And I think we can start, like I said, in my pregnancy, I did it at least once a day, usually. Not perfectly. I wouldn't notice the clock at 11:11 every day, but I did often, and that was always a good reminder for me. Or like when my baby would move, that would also be a good reminder for me. But just practice it, and then it just becomes easier and easier and easier. And then the more you do it, the more you do create new pathways and new, just like neural activity. Like the more you do it, the more easy and effortless it becomes to just be present more and more. And pregnancy is a real good time to practice that. And postpartum is an incredible time to deepen into it. And it'll just help you feel more powerful instead of powerless, even in the challenges or the throes of postpartum, you know? So, yeah, I think has such a deep meaning because I think it's going to help and benefit and shift and influence and raise the frequency of the earth, of the people, and just help create more stillness and peace and connection with ourselves and with our babies and with God. And yeah, yeah, how powerful, right? So that's why it is one of my favorite topics to talk about. It's why I have that 5 second presence practice for mums and why I wanted to share that with you today. And yeah, that is it. That is my little update and the benefits of it. And I wanted to close by saying thank you for listening. Um, I would love to hear what is your top value as a mum, or do you have a few top values? Is presence one of them? How do you intend to enter this next chapter? Like, what did you take away from this episode that you feel like will be supportive to you to go through this next chapter? I would love if you message me. You can always message me at mylightaway on Instagram or send me an email at emma@mylightaway.com. I love hearing from you. You are my like person for listening to this. Um, yeah, that is it for this epi. If you have topic suggestions around pregnancy and postpartum for future episodes, let me know. I have a bajillion in mind, but I'm always happy to hear what's like feels exciting for you as well. And then finally, I have an little update about my lighter motherhood. I, uh, for some time, and if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, I've been on a whole journey to help more and more mums. A couple years ago, I set the intention to support 1,000 new mums through pregnancy and postpartum to just be more present, have more easeful experiences and transitions into and through matrescence. And I'm still on that journey. I'm like so passionate about this. And last year, I lowered the price because I was like, okay, sure, the value of this program is, over $1,000 easily, but I wanted to make it more accessible, especially in pregnancy when mums are buying all sorts of things for their babies. So I lowered the price to $497. And lately, I have just felt and I decided to lower the price back to what it was when I was first like beta testing this program to be like, okay, all of this worked for me. Does it work for others as well? Like, is this process clear and helpful and supportive for others as they get ready for postpartum and prepare? And then does it also help them have lighter postpartum experiences? And so I beta tested it at $297. And I have decided, at least for a time, to reduce the price back to that to support even more mums, to make it so that the mums who want it, that cost isn't really a barrier that you can still access and benefit from and feel so supported by this type of support for mums, which is so needed and so lacking, but so beneficial and important in the world. So that's what I've decided to do. And I've even opened up well, I'll create it right after I record this episode, a new payment plan option for $33 a month over 9 months. So it's even like more spacious and accessible. So that's my exciting announcement about that. If you've been eyeing up My Lighter Motherhood, or if you're just simply new to it, um, I'd invite you to check out the page. I will link the My Lighter Motherhood page for you below. And if you're called, I would love to support you and share more with you inside. I feel like you got a good taste for today. Like I said, that presence practice, all the videos are like 15 minutes or less. They're short so that they're doable and easily able to integrate into your life through a time where you have smaller pockets in the day for just you, but it's made to make this more seamless, support your energy, your mindset, your experience with your baby, and your connection with yourself through this as well. So I invite you to check that out and want to say thank you for being here. And I will see you maybe in My Lighter Motherhood and also in the next episode. Okay, bye.